So
Hello, Mr. Lemrel. Welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth.
here's an old off-world greeting from the stomach, solar plexus, throat, mouth, third eye, crown, out. Some people on worlds greet each other like this.
Yes. I saw that too.
Hmm.
So there is a meaning for that.
Sure. As above, so below.
Mhm.
In this case, as below, so above.
Mhm.
But it means they're acknowledging different levels of in different dimensions where they're running a form. They're acknowledging all of that to each other because they're aware of it. It's not just a social greeting. They don't even know what it means anymore. There's energy involved in it.
Scott, before we start the show, I would like to say thank you for your work because now I have come to recall myself a little bit. I mean, a little more, a little more.
Well,
Every
yeah, you're welcome. That's why I'm here. I suppose I don't really have to be here. But then where would I be to get the greatest amount of work done that's needed the most than any other place in the universe, almost? Earth. And all the people who don't even remember what they are, much less who they are or why they're here, or what the physical body is they're running. They have any idea of what they're doing here. None. And that goes for the rulers and leaders of this planet as much as it does for the mass of people that they lie to every day. Call it classified, but it's just lying, isn't it? How about Project Blue Book, run by the Air Force and the government, that hired an astrophysicist, Jay Hynek, to tell people lies when they reported UFOs and extraterrestrial craft, and the government would say, oh, it was swamp gas. It was an inverted cloud layer. And it was this. And that's what he was hired to do, to appease the public and keep their knowledge of extraterrestrials classified. That's why they did what they did. They were lying to everybody. They've been lying for a long time. And lying is negative, so it hurts them and their families. And they do not escape it. I don't care how powerful they are. I don't care if they're, I don't want to mention any names, if they're the richest people on earth, the Queen of England or anybody else. It hurts them to lie. And they will not escape it. It's a principle of the primary law of physics. Every action creates an equal but opposite reaction. And this is true for how they deal with life, how they treat their fellow beings on earth, whether they're honest or dishonest, what they justify to rule over people. We get to know, but you don't. What makes them, in their lying capacity, think they're more worthy to know the truth about life and other worlds, where the masses of people don't deserve to. That's just arrogant ego tripping, and that's nothing else than that, period. And they're like a little club of people in different countries with different presidents and rulers that keep that status quo going on this planet. It's completely unnecessary, altogether made up nonsense. People on earth don't have to live like that. None of them, including the rulers. They just don't know any better, and they're afraid to change. That's the truth of it. There is no hidden truth beyond that. Then they're terrorized subconsciously to make the change they know they need to make for their own well-being. When people classify something and lie to everybody and pass it on to a next generation, they're just inviting more people to have to go against nature, to create energy that's contrary to what's right, that's contrary to their own well-being. No one can put out negative emotion and imagination and lie to people without suffering from it. No one, anywhere in the entire multiverse, gets away with any of that. It'll ultimately bite them right in the ass. Sooner or later, they'll be put in a position where no amount of power or money will save them. because the nature of the universe is change, evolutionary change for the better. As beings, not bodies, we're meant to be co-creators, trustworthy with the source behind all life. And as long as people on Earth or any plane or planet aren't doing that, they're going to suffer. Not just the people that are suppressed, but the rulers as well. There's no way around that. So they get sick and die just like anybody else. And there's also no need for that either. But they don't know that yet. People on other worlds don't live like people here. They just don't. If you got a system that's run on the illusion of money, which has no value to it, there's no money, there's no gold or silver, platinum behind any of it, and you control people with it, how are you going to bring that kind of a culture out among the stars and expect to deal and trade with other worlds who will not tolerate it, that have made it illegal? You see the problem there? Space is already occupied by far more advanced races than Earth, especially the races that can get around the stars easily. We are not going to project our diabolical, perverted nonsense, hypocritical nature on worlds outside of this planet. The only beings that would be happy to shake your hand on that are people that would eat you alive the moment you turn your back, would lie and betray you if you make a treaty with them in a heartbeat. Those are the only type of beings that would agree with that kind of thing. And they're policed from doing that kind of thing outside of this planet now. So you see, there's no tyrant on Earth that's going to get backed by tyrants off-world anymore. They're backed into a corner now. And energy's moving through this planet that cannot be reversed. That's meant for the uplifting benefit of all life. There's no way this planet's going to become a spacefaring planet out there with any ability to reach beyond the solar system, with 50,000 people homeless in LA and California, or 20,000 in Denver, or anywhere else in the world. It's criminal. It's irresponsibly childish to allow a culture to exist like that on any world. This planet does not demonstrate that it's evolved enough to play among the stars. It does not. And it's not going to be allowed to, the way things are here now. That's a fact. People in power already know this. What they're trying to do is find a way to tell the truth to people they've lied to for so long and not be executed or lynched. In other words, how do we go through this change in a peaceful, non-destructive way for the good of all life? Revenge and hatred and anger and things like that cannot be involved in really having relationships with advanced races out among the stars. That will never, ever work. There will be no Star Trek in the future like the TV series with radioactive warp core drives and ships that would pollute the universe if it gets out of its lead-lined container. That's nonsense. It looks good on paper and in movies, but it's not the way things work out there. It just isn't. You can't get in a rocket ship with propellant coming out the back anywhere of any distance. You can't even get to another planet practically in our own solar system that way. There are people in a classified arena that are working with anti-gravity craft right now on this planet. But they're restricted in what they can do with it. They are. And that restriction is placed on them, is not being placed on them from inside the atmosphere of this planet, from any country or anyone here. That's being done from benevolent races out among the stars who will not allow us to go out there and bring all the garbage and fear and destruction and lying and deceit and all that nonsense out there and expect to trade with them. It's not going to happen. Not now, not ever. So when I speak about disclosure, I'm talking to all the people on earth, the rulers, the kings, the queens, the presidents, the whatever they are in whatever country. I don't care if they're in Russia or China or the US or Africa or anywhere else. They're being addressed and respectfully as individual beings who have the capability to recover who they are, that has never been a physical body, and begin to correct things on this planet like they should have been doing long ago. Earth's poles no longer will flip. There's no more excuses. So now we have the opportunity to change for real. And to do that, the people on Earth who don't even know what they are right now need to recover that awareness. So that's how we're working in this way, behind the scenes. When people are out of their body at night, they, like experts, put their body to sleep every night and go out. Anybody on this earth, they can be met with people in a more expanded state without the fear they're burdened with while they're living a physical life on earth in an atmosphere packed full of negative energy. And they get a chance then to make better decisions and bring that back to their consciousness in the body when they wake it up in the morning. That's the better way to go about this. If you try to confront people living in terror and anger and hatred, they're just going to put up their fists on earth and cause destruction like they've already been doing. It won't work. So let's take Earth, for example. You realize we did start the show, of course, right? Yeah. Earth in its atmosphere, it has an ionosphere, an ozone layer, and has all these different stratosphere and troposphere, all these different levels of oxygen and atmosphere that have certain vibrations to them. They're meant to function properly in the solar system without high levels of CO2 building up in the upper atmosphere, which prevent infrared from going back into space from the sun. It heats things up. Not only is that being maintained within the atmosphere when it shouldn't be, because of what people have done in their greed and ignorance here, but the things that they feel and think and imagine since time began on this planet, after the dinosaurs were extinct 65 million years ago, people have been being brought here from the stars. Human, already evolved to this level many millions of years ago. Humans didn't evolve on Earth originally. They were brought here, and often brought here manipulated unconsciously and used as slaves. In a history, people on Earth have no idea they ever lived. And so we have this culture of unconscious races from all over the universe living on one planet with religious differences that kill for, that mean nothing to what's really going on outside this planet and through the higher dimensions in what people call heaven. What people believe in on this planet doesn't even exist out in the universe. There's no Christianity out there. There's no Muslim faith out there. There's no Buddhism out there. That's all in this atmosphere on this planet. It's vanity and arrogance to think that we're going to go out in space and convert people. They're already far more advanced spiritually and technologically than people on Earth even understand about the source behind all life. So we will have to learn from them. They're willing to share their technology and cures for disease and all that kind of thing. And what do you do with sewage? You just let it spill out until it goes in the ocean, until you pollute yourself to death on this planet? It's not going to work in the long run, is it? It means that the technology and money where it's being used and misdirected now could have long ago been used to have machines that would take the molecular matter from excrement from animals and people and turn it into other molecular forms that are useful products, not even pollute their own ground. That's normal business out among the stars, by the way. How are you going to run a planet with twice as many billions as we have now, all defecating all over the world, including all the animals? There's no future in it, Perry. There can't be, there won't be, there isn't. Common sense here. means that money, which is an artificially created illusion, or what we call energy that's been constricted to the form of money that people are brainwashed on Earth, everyone is, needs to be diverted into new directions, particularly in the sciences of very clear, very common sense, taking artificially created imbalanced isotopes for radioactive material that were used to make bombs and developing the science to turn them back into balanced isotopes so they're not radioactive anymore. That should have been done along with the development of bomb technology. And bomb technology should never have been done here in the first place. It's only destructive. There's no constructive use for any of it. You cannot expect to go play among the stars with others, playing with hydrogen bombs that you can shoot around at anyone that pisses you off. No, no, and no. Common sense. That's one thing. Dealing with the excrement of all the animals and life forms in a practical scientific way that makes sense so you don't pollute your groundwater and earth or air. Common sense. If we're not willing as a group of people on a world to do this, we don't deserve to play among the stars. This goes for Elon Musk or anybody on this planet. How can we expect to play among the stars carrying that kind of nonsense out there, expecting other people are going to embrace us? Come on, we'll trade with you, you Earth people. Not really. We would only be destructive out there, wouldn't we? The way we are. It's not going to work. It's just never going to work. So if people want to go to Mars and other planets, they already should know they're not going to do it in rocket ships. Not without artificial gravity. And even then, running around 2 years each way just to get to Mars in a tin can, so slow, and then people have to exercise and they're in a zero-G environment, weightless, it would atrophy their bodies and they would die before they could ever get there and back. So you see, we can't go there that way anyway. Why? They had a U.S. and a Russian astronauts live on the International Space Station for a year to see how it affected their bodies in zero gravity. Then they were brought back with loss of bone mass and degenerative conditions. They had to go through rehabilitation to bring them back after that year. How are you going to get them to go on a ship 2 years each way to Mars in a rocket ship? You're not. They won't survive it. So you see, we can't really do things that way anyway. Ultimately, can we? Now that's public knowledge. They did this. They proved this. It's been on the news. So we really can't go to space that way. Not the way they're doing things. You can get to the moon and back in 7 days or whatever in a rocket ship. Try doing it to another planet. It's a whole nother ball game. Completely different. So for those people in a classified arena or space program that have gone to the worlds, there are many other elements and beings they have to confront and work with, and many restrictions, and they are watched. We're not allowed to go out there and go out and play among the stars at multiple greater than the speed of light and all this, carrying the negative subconscious drives that drive people today on Earth. Leaders, military people, all of them. It only ends up being destructive, doesn't it, ultimately? Out there. Do the people on this earth that run things really think for a minute that more advanced beings in other worlds who don't do what people do to each other on Earth are going to allow us to come out there and just throw that crap around? Do they really think that? Not practical, not honest, and it's not using common sense. So there are some things we could do as a planet of people that aren't even aware of what they are, that isn't a physical body. That's bad enough. And that means It's like all this energy that appears to be negative out there, whether it's coronavirus or anything else, is driving people to have to work together for the first time when they will not do it otherwise. People are going to die anyway of some disease or old age or a common cold, or people get a regular flu and then get pneumonia and other infections kill them. This happens every year, long before there was a COVID virus. But ask yourself, why would a culture this rich or this technologically advanced, as primitive as it still is, why would they not even have a cure for a common cold yet on this planet? You want to know the answer to that? Because they don't put the money there. There is no other reason. Why don't we have a technology that will neutralize radioactive materials that were artificially created? Because they don't put the money there. There is no other answer. They're not putting their energies in the right place at all. They're running around doing the status quo that they know is destructive and would ultimately end all life here, including their own. I can tell you this for a fact, with knowing certainty. People on Earth as they are now, all 7 billion of them, governments and everybody else, classified or unclassified, do not have the conscious awareness awoke in them that's dormant, suppressed, enough to save this planet from being self-destroyed by them. They're going to require the kind assistance of vast hosts of beings who are not native to this planet, who do not have subconscious minds through which they can be misdirected and controlled. Now that is interesting, isn't it? So who are we going to have to grow up with and start playing with like grown-ups one day if we want to be able to have ships that can go way faster than the speed of light, that don't pollute anything, don't burn energy, they don't use fuel, they're not radioactive? If we want to be given that technology, we're going to have to play ball correctly, aren't we? Otherwise, we're going to be quarantined. The whole solar system with Earth in it is quarantined right now, not by us on Earth. Why are we quarantined? Because we're destructive and dangerous, period. Any beings or race of beings that are driven by subconscious fear are going to be destructive, ultimately, in every situation, sooner or later. This is known out among the stars quite clearly. There is no hoodwinking these people. There's no lying to them with a bunch of lawyers. No pretend diplomatic relationships from Earth ambassadors to them that can work out anything fully a conscious and benevolent and kind to all the people on this world and change it the way they're thinking now. That's not going to happen. It can't. These people out there aren't stupid. They're not going to be hoodwinked by a bunch of dishonest politicians and people on Earth. Are you kidding? They're telepathic. You think they don't see through that? You see what I mean? I'm talking to the people now, not you Perry personally, but to who might be listening to this show you put up on your YouTube channel. Because it's common sense. Really. How can people on Earth think they get the right to play among the stars the way this planet's run? There's not even one benevolent government on this planet. No two countries even get along. Are you kidding? And they think they're going to go play among the stars? That's nonsense. That's an illusion. If people in a classified area really didn't know extraterrestrials exist, they might be continuing to think like, well, we're the only life out there, so we get the right to go out and plant our flag and mine other planets whenever we want. No, 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 they won't. Ever. Because space is already occupied by more advanced races than us. In many cases, human worlds far more advanced. And yet they wouldn't lord it over us. But some rulers and people on this planet will lord it over the people, what they learn about extraterrestrials, and try to use it for their own selfish interests. That kind of thinking for this world is coming to an end, one way or another. And this decision's already been made out there. And not just from the physical universe, from dimensions far above that. There is no power, military or otherwise, extraterrestrial reverse engineering technology or anything else that will stop or prevent or detour or divert what is underway now, that is coming this way through our solar system from out there. They need to be very, very sharply aware of this, because to make this transition into a peaceful world that gets to play among the stars with others in the physical universe, this world has to change in unimaginable ways. And that means the populace and people living here have to change as well. In fact, all matter on this planet, animal and mineral, in the air and the ground, has to change too. It's quite seriously polluted, as we know. Do you know how many nuclear bombs were set off in the atmosphere of this planet above ground before they were banned, with radioactive fallout going everywhere in the jet stream all over the planet? Hundreds. And people don't think there will be negative repercussions for that? Don't they even listen to their own understanding of the law of physics, one of the basic laws? Every action creates an equal but opposite reaction, doesn't it? Measurable on an oscilloscope. And that includes thoughts and feelings. They are frequencies, even if they're microvoltages. What we put out in our feelings and thoughts tells this omnipresent living force people call divine spirit what to co-create with us. Because it is unbiased, impartial, it is a co-creator. If we're to learn to be co-creators with the source beyond all life, which is the purpose for a human being, actually, not the human body, the being that's running the body, which isn't even shaped like this. It's spherical. What people call soul on earth, they don't even know what it looks like. Well, they think it's some light, astral-looking physical body that's more luminous. No, that's the astral body. That's not who they are. The human being, human woman, human man is not one of these. 2 arms and legs made of matter just in one parallel dimension of the physical universe on one planet. That's not who we are. It's just a body we're running. But if people on earth, for the most part, are doing it completely with amnesia, unconsciously, they don't know. And yet they have the expertise to put that body in the trance state we call sleep every night. It's a complex process that means the being, which is spherical, causes the pineal gland, the center of the brain, to secrete serotonin, make melatonin, and put the body in automatic. Run the heart, the lungs, the blood while you're out. That's the truth of it. You aren't taught that in Sunday school or in any school on planet Earth, are you? No. But it should be. And many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of other spacefaring races out there, that's how their children learn. They are not like Earth. And Earth is not going to dictate terms to them. Ever. We might as well get over our own ego trip down here and realize, as a race of people on a planet, that we are not now, nor have we ever been alone in the universe. The only reason people don't come here and land is because people on Earth are too destructive and negative and fearful and biased and prejudiced and petty and childish and stupid for them to come down and land en masse. Why? What, so you could throw rocks at them? Think about it. It's common sense. So I go into the hue. What is the hue? First half of the word human. Hidden in plain sight. It could slap you in the face. And people go, huh, what? I don't know what that is. It doesn't do anything. Because they're not trained. They're not taught that it does something or what it does. They don't know. Organizations on Earth who have put it out, there are several number, do not own or possess or control the hue. That's impossible. It is not possessable or copyrightable or patentable or owned by anyone or any organization or any government. It is a way that human beings connect to the living primordial energy, one energy that is not nuclear, it's not atomic, it doesn't have atoms and electrons and protons in it, and it's behind all matter, what they call dark matter, in the void of space. And to the amount of a body, it looks like a white golden light is packing space everywhere. Space between planets and moons and suns and stars and galaxies is not a void. There's just no oxygen, but there's plenty of energy there. Human eyes, the spectrum they're allowed to see, small amount of spectrum of frequency, doesn't go high enough to see what appears to be black in the background of space in time-lapse Hubble Space Telescope photography. To human eyes, it appears black, but it isn't. People on Earth, some scientists know quite well that it isn't. It's not dark matter. That's just what they called it because it looked dark. Now they know it's powerful energy. They don't understand what that energy is, and they don't know how to use it. But they're going to have to understand what that energy is and how to use it if they want to travel among the stars. If you want to go faster than the speed of light, guess how dumber. The speed of light is 286,000 miles per second. And that's the speed of light for physical eyes that can see it. It is not a limit at all. There's no limit to energy and its speed or what other energies can do from higher dimensions, except the limitation of the ignorance of people on Earth who can't imagine working with it in any higher way because they think they're physical bodies. So they think the speed of light's limited to what they can see with their physical eyes. It's not. Not at all. So I want to share that with people for purely constructive, uplifting reasons. No other reason, no other motivation whatsoever. We're not going to be a normal world, because we're not yet. And we're not going to play among the stars with the races that are out there the way we are. There is a requirement. This world has to be run by one benevolent government system, not tyrants. And we have to be getting to explore space, which we're doing. Both requirements must be met. So this world needs to go through some considerable change to meet those requirements so that masses of people can come here, greatly trained technicians, spiritually illumined people, and help people out of this mess they're in down here because they've solved such problems on their worlds hundreds of millions of years ago. What we're doing now on Earth, they gave up a long time ago because it was only destructive. Someday this planet, its people have to grow up and take their place among the stars. They're not exemplifying themselves as being ready to do that at this point. We know that the people on Earth have this potential, but to do it, they need to recover who they are as an Atma, like that picture behind you in the cupboard. You know, it's spherical. Gee, you mean that's what soul looks like? Really? Structured? Yeah, that's it. It's not a human body. It's a human being. Human, hue woman. The hue creates a vibrational link to from the white core of the center of what we are as a living god or goddess on Earth, who is meant to be a trained co-creator with the source behind all life. That's the purpose of a human being or human or hue woman. And this is the original form that came into creation that's in the likeness of the source itself, not this. They got that all wrong on Earth, way wrong. If you think you're one of these, it's going to grow old and drop off of what you are that's spherical one day. Now, how can people be so mixed up as to think this they know isn't going to last is who they are? That's pretty silly. when you think about it. The hue, what does it do? Can't be owned or controlled by anybody on Earth because it didn't originate on Earth from anybody in any organization. It didn't originate on Venus or Mars or the sun or our solar system or the Milky Way galaxy or Andromeda. It did not originate in the physical universe or the astral or causal or mental or etheric or the void, known to some esoteric groups on Earth, or the many realities above that that don't have positive and negative energy in them at all. All of us that looks like that come from that source originally. And if that's true, it means that we are ultimately responsible for the experiment, what I call the failed experiment of evil, because it failed. It didn't work what it was meant to do. It didn't produce the Atma soul voluntarily becoming a co-creator with the source. They all got sucked up in the whole thing and trapped in it. Long before there were reptilians misusing science to implant people subconsciously. Long before that. This rabbit hole goes a lot deeper than that. This also means that if we are comprised of an energy that is not known on Earth, the CERN Super Collider people know it as the God particle because doesn't follow the laws of physics quite. It's behind everything. They know it's there. They don't know what to do with it. They know it's there, even on Earth today. That energy and how it works is required in order to make craft and other things move around the stars far beyond the speed of light. The understanding of interdimensional doorways is involved in that process. We did not create the interdimensional doorways between divisions, parallel dimensions, and higher dimensions. That was put in place when the lower dimensions of time and space were created, so that beings could get around, either in craft within certain limits of parallel matter in the physical universe, or astral or causal. There are ships there too. But they don't work in the way that craft do in the physical universe. They're made of a higher molecular time rate matter than here. Think of science taken to a higher vibration and frequency each step. And then you have a better understanding of how scientists work who know who they are. That isn't the body. It means that the Atma that is spherical, stars and moons and planets are round because they're made in the Creator's image. Oh, that's a big one. Made in their Creator's image, round. Haven't people ever wondered why they're not squares or triangles, planets or whatever? Why round? And if that's true, it means that we as souls, whether we're unconscious as a rock in a body, can't remember anything, think we're a body, don't know what we are, how we got to be on this earth, which is the condition of most people here. Not all, but most. Then it means that we originate in a source that was never part of time and space. Never molecules that have limited lifespans, or that bodies with genomes and DNA that eventually the telomeres grow shorter on Earth, and then you age and you get wrinkled up and your body drops off and perishes. On other worlds, they know how to keep the telomeres from shrinking. So simple. Frequencies do that. In which case you wouldn't age. Unless you want to. So what I'm sharing with people, they'd be asking the question, do you mean to tell me, Mr. Lemriel, that beings in other worlds have mastered genetic science to the degree that they immortalize their bodies? Yes. But they would never do it unless they were free to leave that body as a being and never be trapped in the first place. And that's very important to know that, because if you don't know that, it goes that one too, then that means you're vulnerable to the effect of matter. That means we're vulnerable to the effect of all the negative things that ever been done to people on this earth. Rome, Hitler, Mayan, Aztec sacrifices, all that stuff. Recent history on Earth, very recent. 10,000 years is nothing. Go back to Lemuria before the poles changed last time, the continents that were here. Then go back millions of years and see what was here. How many people do that on this earth? Go look at their own history. They're in terror subconsciously not to do that. That's why they don't. And that has to be overcome. What about the history of where people have lived as Atmas in other bodies out among the stars before they were compelled to come here with no memory? People think, oh, I made a contract with God, and he said, come here dumber than a brick. It's good for you. You won't remember anything. I want you to do that. No. Only tyrants whisper that in someone's ears. There's no such thing as voluntarily coming to Earth, stuffing yourself in a body of free will, forgetting everything. People tell themselves that to make themselves feel better, because I don't blame them, because they don't have any other alternative they're aware of on this earth. But it's not true. Everybody knows something's wrong with the whole way things are run down here on this planet, whether it's religiously or politically. It just is all wrong, backwards. And the truth of it is, this world functions in a way that does not work out there among the stars, and they would never allow it. It means if we existed before the lower worlds of time and space were created, because the atom that's spherical is not made of matter, it's not subject to aging, it cannot be destroyed even by a hydrogen bomb placed right under it. The hydrogen bomb, the atom could be split and energy released, but it wouldn't do anything to the atom at all. Body would be disintegrated, sure. It's made of matter molecules. They can be broken apart with heat or, fire or whatever, explosions, but not the atom. And if that's true, which it is, then that means ultimately all of us, whether we're unconscious as a brick or not, are ultimately responsible for the way things don't work right on Earth or other worlds or the lower dimensions with good and evil and all that. It means we come from the source as the source, individualized as a drop in a mighty ocean of something, but it's all one energy, one living energy. The omnipresent energy that people call divine spirit is not a being on a throne anywhere. And it isn't a human being. It's not an individual being like us. It is a living energy. And it has a nexus, a source that you can go to and talk with it. But it isn't a being like us. It is a place where all atoms in the entire multidimensional universe are linked. And it creates a kind of a personification that's greater than the sum of its parts. But it's not a tyrant. I'm talking about a reality far above what people call the void, far above the lower dimensions of time and space. We come from there. Everyone unconscious running a human body on Earth today, the being came from there originally. And ultimately, we're responsible for correcting this failed experiment of evil, not just on Earth, in all the lower dimensions of time and space. We were meant to come here to explore in bodies, to have experience and sensory experience, and then come up with new ways to do things, and then travel back across the void to share that, so we can help solve the bigger problems of what people call the prime creator, the supreme being, the source. It knows everything in creation that's going on right now, but it does not know the future. It's relying on us to bring back new ways of doing things from our experience, as made of exactly the same energy as it, individualized on a smaller scale, like a teardrop out of a mighty ocean of the same energy. That is what and who we are as human or human beings, feminine or masculine, it's choice. That is really what we are. So ultimately, it's not just the people on Earth that are responsible for ending this negativity that's here. Beings out among the stars who don't deal with what we have to are still connected to us. No one is, even the beings that live in the upper worlds that are you'd call gods, are not free from being connected to the beings who are stuck in matter down in the lower dimensions. We're all tied together through one energy that can operate on each level, each dimension, that is not made of matter. It can operate on different frequency levels and still be the one energy. You get what I'm saying? We have the ability as the being awake to connect into it telepathically. This is quite beyond psychic energy, which is energies of the positive and negative nature that run through the four lower dimensions of time and space. But it's not our nature as beings. We are not made of such things. We are energy, but it isn't part of the positive and negative stream. So telepathy is a way of linking in to the source, communicating with it. And once you cross paths with that in a lifetime, anywhere in any world, it's not reversible. It means that the hue will begin to unravel all the unconscious knots of fear and negativity that you've picked up in your long sojourn across billions of years. Billions, not millions. The human body and brain cannot, it's not, especially on Earth, developed to be able to handle such a vast amount of information as billions of lives in billions of years. But the Atma, what we're really shaped like soul, is capable of understanding this because it's comprised of the same energy as the source itself. And I've just shared with everyone in the world on this video, this thing that's going on your YouTube channel, the truth about all this. I'm not here to debate things with people or fight with them or argue with them. I don't have time in a day to waste a second on that with why I'm on this planet at this time. But people eventually are going to come to know this for themselves anyway. And then they'll go, gee whiz, that was, how did I forget that? It's like that. When I go into the hue, I usually send out a series of tones for a specific reason. The hue is the first half of the word human. I don't care what religion you're in or what you believe. If you bring this and start working with the first sound behind all creation, the first word, doesn't matter what you believe. It will bring vibrant life and direct experience into what you believe and make it a living, vibrant thing. It will take and it will encourage a person to make the leap from faith and belief into direct knowing, certainty, and experience. Because that's all faith is meant to do. Get us into the direct knowing the Atma is capable of, the soul itself. That's a fact. I'm not making any of this up. I send out the tones so that the bodies that people on Earth don't know they have, they're running right now because they've been compelled at one situation or another out among the stars before they were born here to forget all this. They're running a body of finer matter on the astral plane, what people call the next heaven. There's a causal plane, a mental, a etheric. There's a void which appears to not have anything in it, but there are beings there if you know how to see them. And then there are realities above that, like a barrier. So the pure positive energy that's there has always been there. That's not part of time and space. We come from there. And then beings experience temporal natures in the lower dimensions running bodies that have temporary existences, DNA and RNA and all that, and chromosomes, genomes that make up the structure of what you look like and are passed on from parents and all that stuff. That's just the body evolution. Has nothing to do with the being running it at all. That's a genetic entity. It runs at 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a machine. Consider higher scientists help develop that so that in its right state, the Atma running it can run higher faculties, higher abilities of creation through that brain and body to create wonderful things in these lower dimensions. The original idea, purpose for it, was to make the lower dimensions of time and space mirrors of the upper worlds that are beyond time and space. That is still the greatest problem we have to solve in eternity with the source behind all life. Human beings are meant to be the co-creators of bringing about that change through their innovation, their exploration, their insight that they get from living in lives and bodies, and they're supposed to be going back across that void home to share it. And they have not been doing that for billions of years. Most beings haven't. That's a problem because it means the creation as it is stultified, stagnant, fixed, stuck. And we're all in this together. If we want to change it, then we have to be responsible for ending the experiment of evil, like the dinosaur. It served its purpose. It doesn't work. It's never worked. Let's retire it. To do that, you have to have an energy that will motivate beings to only create that which is of uplifting benefit to all life, not just life on Earth, all life in the grand multidimensional creation. In some books on Earth, they talk about a third heaven. I always ask people, what happened to heaven number 2, 4, and 5? It's not even in those books. There is a third heaven compared to Earth, but it's not a free place. Still has positive and negative running through it. Still police, still problems, even in the etheric to a lesser degree. But once you get into the void, all that stops. When you go above the void, you're back home in native energy, where we started this journey. No one running a body today on Earth has ever been, nor have they ever, where they ever will be, nor have they ever been in the past, a body. Those are machines we're meant to run to gain experience, to be co-creators with the source one day. That's it. I've just shared with all people what the purpose for existing as a human being really is. Way down deep, they all know it. They just don't know how to reach it. Okay, so here's what we do. I will send out the hue. Now, what's happening in this process, because it's telepathic, is that it will help you get your physical body into the sleep state. You put it in every night anyway. Right? Okay, everybody does that anyway, so I'm not doing anything unusual or freakish or strange. They're just getting their body to sleep. They're listening to my voice. There's an energy coming through it that helps the Atma maintain awareness and move above it. The body's going to go into the trance state. Trance state meaning that it's on automatic. People do it every night anyway. And then we're going to go on a journey consciously out of body. It's done in a way that the Atma running the body, the spherical us, causes the pineal gland to secrete certain chemicals like serotonin and make melatonin that will put the body asleep, keep the lungs working, heart working, breathing, blood circulating peacefully, but there's nobody home. There's just nothing there. And it can do that at any distance. It can do that from 5 galaxies away. The link through the hue, the pure energy that is not negative and positive, that is behind and supporting the physical universe anyway, creates an energy connection that cannot be broken. It's not an astral cord or a golden cord or anything like that can be severed. So a being goes out every night and runs this thing on automatic and comes back in the morning with scattered energy or scattered memories, or sometimes clear, sometimes not, because of the fears that are implanted in them subconsciously to distort that information. And when a person begins to become aware of this, they begin to take back command over their own life as a being. And then that creates situations that cross their path, and teachers and beings from elsewhere that can help them get free of the illusion and the amnesia they're suffering from. It's that simple. So I'll send out these tones in a series of higher tones to help get those forms you guys are all running as a single round being. You're running forms and lives. You're living in different dimensions simultaneously at the same moment without remembering this. The astral level, the next dimension up, is where all emotion comes from. Causal, causation, mental, all thought. The brilliance of mind is not in the brain of a human body. That's just something that grew up to an adult. the brain and body, so the Atma could bring a greater wisdom from a body and life that's running 4 dimensions up from here, down through those planes into the physical brain, through the pineal gland. And it will help those forms in those worlds, on those dimensions, go to sleep at the same time. So the round being that we all are, the soul, the Atma, can go on a journey anywhere in the universe, not just in physical matter, but into higher dimensions, even into the void and beyond the void, back up into the higher worlds, beyond time and space. We're all capable of this, whether people know this now or not, or terrified of it, or, whatever they think. It's universally true for everyone. I'll begin those tones now. You. What's taking place here is a telepathic function, pure communication between the source energy itself, 0 point energy, toroidal energy, whatever you want to call it. It is the energy that supports and maintains, is behind and making buoyant, shall we say, worlds and galaxies and suns and moons and parallel dimensions and higher realities. And the doorways and portals and dimensional funnels between them. We're really connecting into the hue that's primordially present, omnipresent in each level, in each dimension. It's one energy operating on different frequencies, but it's not matter. It's not nuclear in nature. And then that connects all the way up through the planes to the source from whence we originally departed. What it does is connect a person on the incoming breath back to that source. And the person begins their journey to recovering who and what they are and what their purpose is for being. Daydreaming. What is it? It is not made up in the brain of a human body, what people call a human body. The brain and its billions of brain cells is not designed, nor can it project through a camera on a motion picture screen what you imagine. When your eyes are closed and you see a beautiful waterfall and a lovely woman standing next to it, pointing to it, and it's glowing with a blue-green light, and you can hear the sound of the U humming through the atmosphere of this place. You can daydream this. It's like what you do when you daydream and you're in a classroom and you're bored. You look out the window and think about being on the beach or somewhere else. Or you imagine going to the store to get a bag of potato chips. You don't make that up in your brain, even though you're taught that incorrectly growing up on this planet by people who are ignorant of really what's taking place here themselves. What people imagine comes into reality sooner or later. Why? Because the omnipresent force that's out there, what dark matter of space, is a co-creator with us as spherical beings. What we imagine in it, good or bad, it produces as one power. We are not the power as individuals. We are comprised of the same energy as that non-nuclear energy, but like a pure drop of it, individualized in a mighty ocean of the same thing. To make anything come into reality and manifest, it is required that we connect into, imagine in this one power, and then it, as the one power, brings things into manifestation. It is unbiased and impartial. It means if you're so unconscious as to create fear of the present and future in your world through your imagination and feeling, then it will create that for you. In like manner, if you discover that imagining anything of any negative nature traps you, you will begin to cease doing it. Instead, at the core of your being, through the hue and a new stream of energy that's moving through it now, throughout the multiverse, it came into creation recently, about 8 or 9 Earth years ago, way up in those higher realms above the void. And it's designed to retire negative emotion and imagination and replace it with the inspiration and energy to motivate all beings to create only that which is of an uplifting benefit to all life, not just life on Earth, all life in the entire grand, multidimensional creation. A human brain and body on Earth is not capable of comprehending and understanding the source, prime creator, what people call the supreme being. Is kind of a negative attitude because it means it's supreme, like a dominant lord that owns you like you're a piece of property. That is not the nature of the true source. That's the nature of tyrants, pretending to be that source. That kind of thing is also coming to an end for the first time. Ultimately, underneath it all, we are meant to return to the place from whence we departed and help to create a new way of doing things. When you imagine something called daydreaming, you do not make it up in your brain. With your eyes closed, if you see a green apple being held in the hand of a woman standing by a waterfall, or a mountain, or a campground you visited, and you're looking at it with your eyes closed, your eyes and your brain are turned off. There's no light coming in your eyes. You're not seeing anything from outside. So how can you see or imagine anything with your eyes closed? We do it all the time. You have to do that unconsciously, even to go to the store. You have to imagine it first, or you will not get that body to walk and get in the car and go there. And it is the being running the body that does this, not the brain itself. The brain by itself can't motivate itself to do anything, even get up and move. It's a device that the Atma runs through the pineal gland, the master control gland in the center of the brain. Imagine you're walking along a black sandy beach. Could be in Hawaii or Australia or New Zealand, somewhere wherever there's black sandy beaches. And you can feel the grit of the sand under your bare feet. It's not too hot. And you can feel the ocean crashing against the shore and the mist against your cheek. The smell of salt air. The pure oxygen you're breathing, wherever this is. Then you imagine a beautiful hummingbird hovering stationary about a foot in front of your eyes. You could swear it's smiling at you. Beautiful colors. That darts away. And you look around you now and you realize you're not in Kansas anymore. You're looking at an Earth-like environment, but it's not on Earth that you grew up in. People who write fiction, that create screenplays, that write movies, whether it's 5 million years ago, far, far away in another galaxy or anywhere else, are not making this stuff up in their human brain they grew up with. That's quite impossible. They could never learn enough in one lifetime to create such things. What they're really doing unknowingly is looking telepathically into this one force, this one power, out into the creation, back down the time track, and simply going into a trance-like state and reviewing very likely experiences they were involved in back then. And they write about them unconsciously here, and they become movies, books, novels, sci-fi. None of it is made up in a brain. It exists somewhere. This is really, really a giant, important thing for people on Earth to come to understand, to make a great leap forward in evolution. Just like you daydream seeing yourself walking along a black sandy beach in a tropical paradise with a sky in the daytime that shows you beautiful, colorful nebulae, brilliant stars, many of them very close to Earth or to the world you're on. And you realize you can see space from this world, wherever it is, in such a way that normally you couldn't see such things except at night on Earth, and you would never see stars this close. Dozens of them, blue ones and yellow ones and red ones. Even in the daytime on this world, you can see it right through the atmosphere, because this planet we're on, this incredible turquoise blue water, an air that is so clean beyond your understanding, it uplifts you just to breathe it. You're on a planet closer to the galactic core of the Milky Way galaxy. Ocean covered with islands, beautiful, fantastic. Now, in the same way, as a spherical being, a spherical energy that can see in any direction, in every direction, you look down from the ceiling, wherever you live, at that body. And you smile kindly on it with its eyes closed, sitting there or lying down. And that body is in the sleep state you put it in every night. It doesn't mean you can't hear something outside or twitch a finger or have an itch or anything like that, because it's going to transmit that to you. But in reality, your body is asleep. And you, the being, remain alert and aware, listening to my voice. This voice is what you would call a channel of the new ray in the hue itself, the first sound behind all creation. The new ray in it is this energy that motivates people to only use their imagination to create that which will be uplifting to all life and in no other way. People do this when they understand that this living energy force behind all life is a co-creator with us. We trap ourselves or liberate ourselves by our conscious knowledge of this. Be in the atmosphere at about 10,000 feet, looking down on that body. High in the air, looking down, you can see that not only are you a spherical luminous being hovering in the atmosphere, lighting up the sky around you, but you're also a sphere hovering above that body near the ceiling. Both places at the same moment. This is the capability an Atma has. It is not limited to being in one place at one time. Be in space above the planet. That's right, just like the space shuttle, only further out. Now you're in what you would think is a black void of space you've seen in photographs of satellites and the space shuttle and the Hubble telescope, of Earth and the moon and the sun. But in reality, as the Atma up here, you don't need to breathe oxygen. There isn't any. You don't feel heat and cold. You don't feel radiation from the sun. You are a being made of an energy that is not nuclear like the sun or material like the earth. You are in the void of space, which is really packed full of energy. It's a white golden light. Same white golden light that exists in the core of the spherical nature of the being you are. And we are in a circle, all of us listening to this, hovering in space with a physical form projected out in front of us that looks to be about 36 years of age, unaged, perfectly healthy, flawless in every way. And it's smiling as if it's breathing, but it's not a body. It's a projection of energy so that you can show other beings here who you are, kind of what you look like. It's a way of communicating. Behind that body, hovering there in space in a circle, is the Atma, the spherical energy you are. In the center is a friend of mine named Ambassador Torelli, and he's from the mighty Ceres race, which is the oldest human race I know of. Did not originate in the Milky Way or Andromeda or any galaxies close by. Long ago, they were, this race, 18 to 25 feet tall, giant humans compared to people on Earth. And they were like genetic scientists. They were responsible for evolutionarily upgrading genetic forms like what people call a human body on Earth, and the brain to be able to handle the channel of higher faculties of the Atma through it, to create wondrous things in the physical world, wherever that planet's body is stationed. It's made of the same time rate of matter as the world that's around it. And this ambassador is in the center of us, only to serve as a focal point to keep us focused. He has two thumbs up. You can see he's got an 18-foot tall body. Long, slightly curly hair, curvy, big blue eyes in a kind of a white tunic, like a Greek god, about 36 but 18 feet tall. Two thumbs up, and all he's doing is channeling the new ray and the hue to give us a consistent support energy to keep fears and traumas and subconscious stuff turned off with the body back on Earth that's asleep for now. In this form, you cannot bring any fears outside of the atmosphere of planet Earth with you. Space between planets, the moons and suns and stars is pure. It's a living energy, no negative nature that's created and maintained, packed within the atmosphere of Earth that doesn't escape the atmosphere, is out here, except this white golden light. The Ceres were responsible for bringing into creation human, humanoid, and other bipedal races out among the stars in this and many galaxies in both the physical parallel dimensions, 144 of them, and the astral next major heaven up, 144 there, life like humans, like we are, and bring them up to spacefaring capacity. This was to get those body and brains to a point where the atmosphere could run higher faculties of being through them to travel among the stars and help educate less evolved races. And then the Zeta rays departed this scene and vanished long ago. They recently came back into this universe because they went through a consciousness change that compelled them and the Galactic Alliance Council near the central core of this galaxy to get involved in freeing places like Earth and other places because we're all connected. We can't ignore the people on Earth because they don't have free will. If we had real free will, they would not intervene. But since people on Earth have long lost that free will, here's what I mean by free will. Knowing what you are that is not a physical body and how to move it around the multiverse safely and productively. That's free will. If you're on Earth and you don't remember who you are, how you got here, that's not free will. So you might say people on Earth need to first recover free will in order to move forward, to advance. So there is Ambassador Trellian serving as an example. I am there, look to be about 36, with a form you can see standing just in front of the Atma. It's a form I'm projecting. And then you begin to see some other beings appear here in space above the planet, outside of the negative influence of what's packed in the atmosphere of that world. Why? Because any negative thing ever done to anyone or thought or felt on Earth remains within, enclosed within the atmosphere of the planet from its very beginnings to right now. It bounces off the ionosphere like a radio wave. Sometimes people unknowingly pick up on very destructive things and act them out. More advanced races have neutralized this kind of programming and imagination in the atmosphere of their world, so they have clean energies to work with. Earth people are not yet awake enough to do this. So we're in space, hovering as atmas, non-nuclear beings, energy yes, but not atomic in nature, around Terrellian to gain the experience of being more liberated in this form. So we're not taking fear and anger and hatred and revenge and jealousy and vanity and undue attachment to material possessions or anything else with us, because that's all relative to physical bodies, and we are not a physical body, never have been, never will be. And then you see above Terrellian a little blue star flash into existence that lights up outer space, and then it opens like a spiral of a galaxy, and a wide, thick, interdimensional doorway appears, whirling gently clockwise, and through it on the other side, you see a bright, brilliant blue atmosphere. And then Terrellian and us in a circle around and move up through that opening, up into the atmosphere, high above in that atmosphere until you look down and see that vortex spiral closed and vanished. And now you're looking below where you're hovering, and you see 6 snow-covered mountain peaks circling a white round island down in the basin between them. And there's a crystal sphere about 4 feet wide, cobalt blue, with a star radiating light in the center of it, hovering 4 or 5 inches above a rectangular blue stone with smooth rounded edges. And then you look out, straight outward in every direction, you realize you are hovering above a landmass that is floating in a blue atmosphere, a huge continent-sized landmass, completely circular. And on the outer edge of it is a white luminous beach surrounding it, 360 degrees. There are no suns, no moons, no stars here. Everything here radiates its own light. That means all of us, the physical forms that look like us to be 36 in perfect health, standing there in the atmosphere, floating in the atmosphere, a few feet away from the Atma, the spherical being we are, or soul. And as you look to the left towards the west, you see a blue glass transparent tower coming up out of a 100-foot wide white marble floor that extends upward to a flat spherical area and up to a minaret point. And you can see through it. And in this flattened spherical area, 2/3 of the way up it, you can see a marble white alabaster fountain centered, sitting in the middle of the floor. It's quite large inside. And you look down at the base of this blue glass administration tower, and you see that there are white roadways that go straight as an arrow, like the spokes of a bicycle tire, all the way around it. They go through caverns in those 6 mountain peaks into the hollowed out center, and then continue through caverns or tunnels that go to the end of the white sandy beach in the entire circumference of this floating landmass. When you look at the roadway that goes directly west out to the beach, you'll see there's a left turn just past the white marble floor supporting this tower, and a clearing. And in it, with beautiful tropical plants and botanical paradise, is a tall ivory-colored silo-type dome building. Further up to the right, there's a clearing with a huge 4-sided, golden-sided, clear quartz-capped pyramid. These are teaching facilities. There are facilities like this down all in every roadway, left and right turns, and this entire floating circular landmass. When you look up, you can see the atmosphere is so bright, it strains your eyes at first. And if you look clearly, you can see a white golden light behind it supporting this blue atmosphere. The blue atmosphere has to do with remembering who we are as the Atma, as it is above the void, beyond the worlds of time and space, beyond the illusion that we are matter and space and time. We aren't. When you when you look in the center of this blue glass administration tower, you can see the flat spherical area, and you find yourself suddenly inside it. And you're inside the size of a soccer stadium. Round. You can see through the walls, and you can see the mountain peaks behind us. And the ocean, the circular floating, this white sandy beach circling this floating landmass. And you can see 3 white marble seats, or circular donut-shaped seats, different levels. And you can see many beings, men and women, standing there with the Atma they are, hovering behind forms they're showing you. These are master teachers. They are from different worlds in time and space and the worlds below the void, and some of them are from the upper worlds. And they will instruct people by direct example in different facilities located throughout this floating, what's called the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. It is where people go to co-create new ways of doing things, and then it's presented to the source of life many dimensions above here. And it's presented to a being that runs what's called the Atma plane, the first major division above the void, known to certain esoteric groups on Earth, where it's tested in the lower worlds. And if it comes back true, necessary, and kind as an energy wave, it's a surprise, and then it's implemented in eternity throughout creation. Something like this has recently just happened for the first time. You're being escorted here so that you have an experience of planting your feet so to speak, in a realm that has no negative nature in it whatsoever. And you will never be able to bring negative feelings or emotions here. This is for co creating change, for the uplifting, benevolent good of all life, not just life on earth, all of it. When you listen, you can hear the sound of the hue humming through the vibration of this blue energy, the white golden light behind it. And you feel it pulsing like an incoming and outgoing breath in the white core of the spherical being that you are as an Atma, or what people on earth call soul, without really knowing what it is or what it looks like. It has structure. It has a white core. It has a golden yellow area above that, so a certain thickness, with individual teardrop shaped lights, luminous, that are higher faculties of being and perception. And another layer that's a concentric circle around that one, that goes from yellow to orange, then to red, to green, to blue, to lavender, to violet. And there's a golden white light surrounding each Atma, just like the golden white light that's supporting the blue atmosphere of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. It is the same white golden light that's packed in the void of space between the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun, the stars, the galaxies, and the dimensions. It is one primordial, omnipresent energy, a living energy. It is a co-creator with us as individual Atmas. Remember this. Because what we're doing is going here to bring back the awareness of such lofty arenas to a brain and body and earth that never even dreamed about such things and never taught this stuff growing up on earth. That changes the physical DNA of your body and your brain. Have that brain on earth as 100% developed, and yet people will say humans only use 6 to 10% of it, 100% developed brain. Does that make any sense? No. So what would keep a person from using 100% of it? And as an Atma running it in a much higher capacity. There's only one answer for that: subconscious fear. Something you can't remember that was done to you or that you went through before you were born on earth that affects your decision making on that planet. As above, so below is an old saying. Well, also is true, as below, so above. It's possible for a being running a body on earth to recover fully who it is as an Atma and be able to move freely amongst the bodies it has running on different planes in the lower worlds. And under the right conditions, it can travel here or higher. There are beings called silent mentors that run the mechanics of the multidimensional creation. Planets on their axis, moving around suns, suns around greater suns, around a galactic core, galaxies in between each other, up through the different parallel dimensions, up through the different planes. This one energy is supporting everything. It can move and operate, support different levels of time, rate, matter. Yet it's still one non-atomic, non-nuclear energy. And it is a telepathic medium. The water in human bodies is H3O, not H2O. And there's great capabilities within what it can do if the Atma is awake enough to activate what those potential in a human body is. It's a telepathic medium. True telepathy is not something that any negative nature, negative being in or out of bodies, or any negative misuse of technology here in any world or any dimension can affect in any way. Call it a fail-safe that exists behind eternity. When the hue crosses your path and you begin to work with it, the source becomes aware of you, perhaps for the first time in billions of years. And the journey to unravel this tight knot of unconsciousness begins. This is done so we can fulfill our purpose, which is to co-create new ways of doing things with the source itself, of course. You look down and you see these 6 mountain peaks, this blue crystal floating above a rectangular blue stone with rounded edges with gold lace through it. And you see a blue star pulsing, radiating in the center of it. And you find yourself suddenly with Turelian hovering around this radiant blue star in this 4-foot wide blue crystal, as if it's gigantic inside. And you see a white golden shaft of light coming down from somewhere far above, down into the star, and then it continues down below it, into the worlds below. And we're going to move with Turelian straight down that beam of energy. And when you're down going through it, you're looking through like blue-green luminous water, moving slowly clockwise. And as you do, you can see levels of galaxies passing by as you move further down until we come out of an opening and find ourselves hovering once again around Turelian in space above planet Earth. You can see its polar ice caps. You can see the barren moon with its meteor craters that does not turn on its axis as it moves around the planet. You can see the sun in the distance, and the space between them is a white golden light. The Atma, you can see this. And then Turelian, who's in the middle of us, with his 2 thumbs up still, waves his hand. And the earth changes to a higher vibration, a 3rd parallel dimension up from the world you know of as Earth. In the same space, at a higher frequency, you can see an Earth with no polar ice caps, and a moon circling it, turning on its axis with a full oxygen atmosphere with rain clouds and little lakes, little oceans. 5 domed cities on the front side. As it turns on its axis, you can see 2 more coming into view in the mountainous area. And down on this world, centered across the equator from the left to the right hemisphere, half the planet is a huge continent. And it curves upward about 1/3 of the way below the North Pole and curves down, and it comes down about 1/3 of the way above the South Pole. Down on the South Polar area, there is a crescent or moon-shaped, half moon-shaped, glowing emerald green beach you can see from space. You know by connecting and seeing this place that there is no impurities in the atmosphere of this Earth or the moon, which does turn on its axis. And then you find yourself looking down at your bare feet, wiggling your toes comfortably in glowing emerald green sand, about 1.5 feet above the beach. It's a curved, crescent-shaped beach. The back of the curve, a brown moss-covered path that goes straight back about 1 mile to a clearing. And further inland, it goes up to a single snow-covered mountain. Just to the right and to the left, on a lower plateau, a huge clear dome covering a city with 3 4-sided golden pyramids in it with quartz caps, and a little blue luminous green lake. Surrounding it, little domed ivory-colored dwellings and little white roadways. And in the background, in a semicircle, a small mountain range with waterfalls, put there for the aesthetic beauty and enjoyment of the people who work here. The beings that work in that dome city come from the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, an organization centered near the galactic core of our Milky Way galaxy. Master teachers like Turelian and others And then when you look behind you out in the ocean, you see Turelian standing with the ocean water up to his knees. He's 18 foot tall and he's still got his two thumbs out, smiling. You look down at the green sand and this light beginning to move up your legs, and it feels cool and warm and soothing. It moves up through your whole body to the top of your head, and you look up smiling, and you see it go into the white core of the Atma, the sphere you are, hovering there, running this energy form that looks just like you. Both are you. One is physical, to have tactile sensation about this reality, which is communicated to the white core of what you are. And it continues from there and is distributed out to the green layer, where it lights up certain teardrop-shaped faculties in that green layer. This is about recall and remembering. And this is about recall and remembering what you are before you ever knew a life on Earth. What you are that has never been a physical body. And then you find yourself being that sphere, hovering above that beach. You look out on the ocean, Turelian's body's not there. He's a sphere hovering there like us. And then you find yourself hovering around him in space above this world that has no polar ice caps, this beautiful Earth and this beautiful moon alive with life. A complete atmosphere moving peacefully around the planet. A balanced water system between the moon and the Earth, and then the bodies of the people that work there. This is a prototype. This is in a third higher parallel dimension of the physical universe that exists right now, and it will be used as a prototype at some point to change the Earth and the moon we have now to this. This is underway. It cannot be reversed, fortunately. And then you see the Earth change. You see the polar ice caps we're familiar with in the oceans and the land masses. And you see the barren moon, meteor craters that doesn't turn on its axis, always showing us the same face. The dark side of the moon is not always dark. It passes in front of the sun, too. Then you see the sun in the distance, yellow sun. And then you see yourself hovering above your body, near the ceiling, in the building or room where you are, sitting down or lying down. And you're inspired to send a little beam of white golden light from the white core of your being down into the pineal gland, the center of your brain, in that sleeping body, where it moves through your brain cells and begins to light things up, moves harmlessly through your body out into the universe, out into the world, because it's the hue itself moving through you for your benefit. And its nature is that it moves through you and cannot be stopped, is constantly in motion to go out through you and be of benefit to all life. There it connects to 3 very large pyramids that have been stationed on Earth, 2 at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans and 1 inside a mountain in the Himalayas. There are these fountains, like the one in the U Expansion Ray Administration Tower. There is a white shaft of golden light pouring down from the top of the point of the pyramid into these fountains, where it flows over the edge of these white alabaster scalloped edges, maybe 15 feet wide, and then drops in an even luminous sheet down the bottom, and then it pulses out donut-shaped energies that move through the sides of the pyramids out into Earth, and then out into the world, out through the surface, out into space, where all 3 connect to a large, massive, golden-sided pyramid with a quartz cap that is floating stationary between 2 stable asteroids in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter in our solar system. And that asteroid field circles in the orbit of a planet that was once there around the sun. And then you follow it and you see that that pyramid connects to pyramids that have come into manifestation between each star in space. And then you see it move forward and onward and upward. Then you look down on your body with kindness, endeavoring to bring as much awareness of this journey to the brain and body that never had any of this growing up. When you're ready, open your eyes.
Thank you, Scott, for the journey.
You're quite welcome. It's the way, the Savior's Agenda. This book that's published through my publishing company worldwide, that is a mile-long cylindrical shaped ship stationed permanently in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter in our solar system. It is not from Earth. These are Scout class craft that are stationed throughout our solar system to keep tyrants from coming back to our planet and to help us go through a transition, a most unexpected transition. So it's not going anywhere. That is original artwork created for this book. That is a scene in the book, and on the back is another scene in the book. And you're going to see a man there, Mark Sandfield, being attacked by these three black-suited guys on a solo camping trip in the High Sierra Mountains, blasting away a chunk of the tree, and the ship saves him, which is where he first becomes aware of human extraterrestrial life unexpectedly. In the back of this book is a special techniques section that has techniques involving the you for the prologue and one separate one for each of the 29 chapters. They would be of great benefit to anyone that sincerely explores them and works with them.
Yes, these techniques are very good. Once you have finished the book, go on the exercise. Now I'm practicing on page 324 and 327.
This is the Emerald Doorway book, the first book of the Parallel Time Trilogy. You can see these people, humans, floating on these anti-gravitic discs. This is a captain. This is a Scout class ship about 30 feet across with semi-spherical pods underneath. This is an opening into a realm that exists just above the void, just one level below where we went tonight. And this is the actual image of what's called the Ancient One in the book, which, much bigger than what would hover above the heads of these beings, is like us, or we're like it, in structure, identical. And this is a little creature called the Dren, silica-based, on a planet that have developed the ability to defy gravity and fly through the air, lovable, courageous to a fault. He would die for you if you befriended him, and he's not human. And he's telepathic. He has a photographic memory. So do we. So do these beings, all of whom are not from Earth. These are extraterrestrial beings. She's got blue skin. Down below are what's coming up in the continents after the poles shifted the last time 100,000 years ago, destroying the land masses and bringing new ones into manifestation. The back of this book, these are actual actors that portrayed these characters. And he's holding the earth in his hand. He's a bad guy, okay? There are 3 of these books written. This one's published, The Emerald Doorway. The other 2 will be published as these become more well-known. But you're going to find 30 illustrations of characters and scenes in this book that can be very helpful to people who want to recover the past time track, their own.
So is it okay if people who, our audience who watch our shows and they go on journey and then go on follow the exercises at the end of the book and they share the experiences with us?
Sure, that'd be great if they would write into you and ask questions or whatever. When I answer questions, I don't just give people data, information. That's mindless entertainment. That won't help them. I will demonstrate by example how a person can get out of their body and get the conscious knowing certainty of knowing established in themselves. So they know too. So they didn't just stuck in faith and belief on earth, but they leap into knowing. As a soul, as an atma, we're meant to co-create with the source behind all life. We're not meant to worship it. It never encouraged or asked us to do that. Tyrants in the lower dimensions of time and space over time propped themselves up and demanded worship. That's not right. The source itself requires that we respect it, know it, and that we respect all life in the grand multidimensional creation. That is what's required to be free. That's it. To do that, we have to remember, recall, or recover the ability to know what all that life is out beyond the earth. This is required. Every single being's capable of it. The website I have that most people should be directed to is called paralleltime.com. Paralleltime, just like the two words are spelled put together with no spaces. And if you go there, you will find these books, the links to Amazon and iTunes and other places for the printed book or ebook worldwide. And it will take you to the correct, proper link at those trustworthy online retailers where you can obtain the book and have it printed on demand in your country or nearby and shipped to you. For countries that don't have Amazon, they can order it through a bookstore, and another company I work with, Ingram Spark, will see to the you get it. They're responsible for delivering books to bookstores. Amazon's responsible for doing that digitally from the internet, either in printed
Here
form.
in Thailand, Scott, people can order through the Japanese bookstore too, because we have Japanese bookstore too.
Yeah, and they can get it that way too, if they can't get it through Amazon. So these books are there and they're sold, yes, because I would have no other way to get them in the hands of people worldwide. It would cost more than $60 to $90 to send a one-pound book from the US to Germany. It's not possible. So publishing can't be done that way anymore. So people don't print and have warehouses full of books and then ship them out themselves. It's too you couldn't do it. So in this way, when a book is ordered, it's printed in a local area, the same color, everything, and then shipped locally to them. An ebook, of course, is a digital book that is just a digital download, so they can get that too anywhere in the world. I recommend reading a real book because you have something in your hand. You can turn and look at the pages and the illustrations. They're also present in the ebooks too, all the illustrations as well. So people can choose what they want to do in that regard. It's available. But it's not about the money. The cost of a book might be $15 or $16 US, or an ebook may be 10. No, it's about what will benefit them when they obtain it and then work with it. For instance, this show is recorded. I recorded on mine. I send it to you, put it up on your YouTube channel, and then people have it available to go and review it. To go to put their body to sleep, put aside some time in a day, an hour or two where they won't be disturbed, and go on the journey again. I recommend it highly. It's also good that when you do this, that you have some source material to go to, like the techniques in the back of the Sayrays Agenda book. And it's pronounced Sayrays, as if it was spelled Sayrays, but it's spelled Seras. It's pronounced Sayrays, not series. It's not the World Series. It's not baseball. It's Sayrays. So it'll help you in knowing how to call out and name and connect with beings who are kind, loving, who do not have subconscious minds that can help fellow beings on earth remember who they are. But they have to put in the effort to do it. Well, thank you, Perry, again for hosting the show, for having me on. It's always a pleasure for me.
You're welcome, and I have to thank you too, Scott, for your work to help people uplifting with this uplifting information.
As you know, people that look at this from Thailand don't speak English. So you're kind of an intermediary to help them if they should talk to you or write to you about understanding in Thai what it is we're doing, especially with the techniques in the back. So if someone gets a book, you can always translate or transcribe those techniques into Thai so they can read and work with them if you want to do that. You'd have permission to do it. You started?
Two, yeah.
Okay, start with one at a time, get them out to people, let them work with them, because they're going to be in the back of the book anyway. So, because it's a huge undertaking to translate a book into another language. 3 or 4 top editors have to be paid full time. that really know how to translate into Thai from English. And just as for Thai, the books have to be published as a brand new book with Thai writing. It's a whole process. So if you're a billionaire and you got books out, publishing company can afford to do that in every language. But if you're not, it's impossible financially. So at least in the interim, you could get a few techniques out to people written in Thai so they understand them.
Scott, and for those who understand English, can go to your website as well, right? There are 4
Well,
websites.
not only that, but the 4 websites, those have functions at the top that they can click on it and translate it into their language. You can turn that website writing into Thai or Russian or German or Chinese. So, but the videos are going to be in English. But even if they can't understand the videos, they can feel them. And they're very effective because they are telepathic channels, even on this earth. So if a person goes back in and reviews this show, they need to understand that they're telepathically connecting to something that's pure, not of this world, that can benefit them. I hope that helps. I'm sure it will. If people are sincere and want to know, they can recover who they are. And that something is not something that's ever lived in one lifetime on earth. Well, I guess then I will say goodbye for now and pleasant dreams to everybody and pleasant journeys.
Thank you to you, and thank you for all of you who listen to our shows too.
I want to thank all the listeners and people that tune in for their benefit. I encourage you to go on your own direct experiential journey. The Hue is not a person. It is an omnipresent living energy. And it will work with you without trying to dominate or control you. It will work with you if you want to work with it in ways that will change your life, but you need to be able to imagine differently than you are. No negativity, no fear. Hint, hint, hint. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.